Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're diving straight into something, well, pretty significant in the audiobook world.
Yeah, definitely.
It's Audible's unveiling of new AI narration tools specifically for publishers. This feels like it could be a real, inflection point.
It really does. This move has the potential to reshape the whole audiobook scene, really, for publishers, for voice actors, and ultimately for how you, the listener, experience books.
Right. And our exploration today, it's guided by a recent discussion we saw on the YouTube channel Daniel Green. That channel is known for trying to offer a balanced view before giving opinions, which feels like the right approach here.
Definitely need that balanced perspective.
So our goal basically is to break down the facts of what Audible announced and really look at the potential chain reactions, from all sides. We want to equip you with a clear understanding of what's going on and why it could be important later on.
Sounds good.
Okay, so let's get into it. What exactly did Audible announce? What are we talking about here?
Okay, so at its core, Audible is providing these AI-powered tools directly to a select group of publishers. For making audiobooks.
Okay.
And this isn't just like a simple text-to-speech thing. They're calling it an end-to-end AI production technology.
End-to-end.
Yeah, think of it like a whole system. Publishers can upload their manuscript, pick an AI voice, and the platform handles a lot of the audio production stuff after that, maybe pacing, chapter breaks, that kind of thing. The idea is to make it simpler, and you'd assume much faster.
Right, faster conversion from text to audio.
Exactly.
So this isn't quite like what we saw before with Kindle, where individual authors could sort of play with it.
Precisely. That's a key difference. While Kindle did have something similar for authors in its own world, this is focused squarely on publishers, and the scale seems much bigger. Audible's also rolling out a self-service option, so publishers can have even more direct control over this whole AI process. That publisher focus is really what stands out.
Okay. And it sounds like they've got quite a few AI voices ready to go.
Oh, yeah. The initial launch has over 100 AI voices, and in multiple languages, too. English, French, Spanish, Italian were mentioned.
Wow, okay. Multilingual.
Yeah, and that's a big part of it. They also announced a new AI translation tool that's in beta. The goal seems to be making audiobooks much more globally accessible.
Okay, now something that really jumped out was the mention of how these audiobooks can be made. It's not just AI reading text.
That's right. There are basically two main ways. First is text-to-speech translation.
Yeah.
So manuscript goes in, audiobook comes out in the chosen language and voice. Standard enough.
Okay.
But the second one, this is pretty interesting, is speech-to-speech translation.
Speech-to-speech.
Yeah. It uses AI to try and keep the original narrator's voice and even their performance style, their characteristics, when it translates the audiobook into another language.
Whoa, that's quite something. Imagine hearing a narrator you love, but speaking fluent Spanish or French.
Exactly. It's a big technological step.
But, that immediately raises the big question. Where do humans fit in all this? Are we just like handing it all over to the algorithm?
Well, not entirely, or at least that's not how they're framing it. They say human review is meant to be an integral part of the process.
So?
The original narrators apparently will get a chance to listen to the AI audio and sort of refine the performance where they think it needs it, touch it up.
Okay, so more like AI-assisted narration, maybe, with a human check for quality.
Kind of seems that way.
And what if the publishers aren't happy, if they think the AI didn't quite nail it?
The announcement says if a publisher isn't satisfied with that first AI pass, they can ask for a human review by a professional linguist. So that sounds like a kind of quality control safety net.
Okay. Good to know there's some human oversight plan. But let's talk about the voice actors themselves. What's the deal with payment if their voice is used by the AI?
Yeah, this is really crucial. The idea is that narrators whose voices get used in this AI system will get paid each time their voice is picked for a project.
Right.
But the actual details on how much or how that structure works, it's still a bit fuzzy. And how lucrative that might actually be.
It's uncertain. It raises that big question, though. Does this help established voices make more, or does it maybe push out other working actors?
Which, considering Audible's history with compensation sometimes, the YouTube video mentioned Brandon Sanderson's issues from before.
Yeah.
It does make you wonder.
It certainly does. There's a valid concern there. The concept sounds okay, get paid per use, but will the actual money be significant?
Yeah.
Especially if Audible's trying to cut production costs.
We touched on the Kindle version briefly. Can you just remind us why this Audible announcement feels like a bigger step? What's the main difference again?
Sure. The Kindle thing was more about empowering individual authors, letting them use synthetic voices for their book within that Kindle world.
Right. Self-published authors mainly. Exactly. The big difference now is the scale. and who it's aimed at. This isn't just for individuals experimenting. It's a big offer to publishers that suggests much wider potential use and, a bigger impact on how traditional audiobooks get made.
Got it. Okay, so the details are clearer. Let's think about the upside. What are the potential benefits?
Well, one of the biggest potential pluses is speed, especially for translation. Books could potentially get into multiple languages much, much faster.
Yeah, that makes sense. Global reach.
Exactly. Making literature accessible to way more people who prefer audio or need it in their own language.
That's a strong point. Wider access is hard to argue against. What else?
It could also be a really big help for people with disabilities who can't read print books. Faster audiobook production means they get access to new releases quicker. It's more inclusive. And just generally, quicker production overall could mean more information and stories get out there faster.
Okay, those are some pretty clear potential positives. But as the YouTube creator also discussed, there are some serious worries too. What's on the other side of the coin? The potential negative.
Yeah, there are definitely concerns. One major one is just the continued or maybe even increased dominance of Amazon and Audible in the market.
Right. They're already the biggest player by far.
Exactly. And by giving publishers these AI tools, they could potentially tighten their grip on the whole audiobook pipeline from creation right through to distribution. People worry about what that level of control over media means.
The point made about potential censorship, drawing parallels to changes with Kindle book ownership, that felt particularly concerning.
It is unsettling, yeah. If Audible controls more of the creation, the fear is they could also maybe more easily make changes or even pull audiobooks down the line. Raises questions about, access and freedom.
And then, of course, the really direct impact, the voice actors. Could AI just take their jobs?
That's a huge worry for many in the industry, understandable. While the current setup suggests some collaboration, the fear is as the AI gets better and better.
Which it inevitably will.
Right. The demand for human narrators could drop. It could lead to job losses, maybe fundamentally change what it means to be a voice actor.
And beyond just the jobs, there's the whole argument about the quality, the art of it, right? What a human brings.
Exactly. A lot of people feel that AI voices, no matter how technically good they get, might just lack those subtle things, the emotional depth, the unique interpretation a human gives a text. There's that connection, between the voice, the story, and you, the listener. Some worry AI can't truly replicate that.
And the idea mentioned that relying on AI versions of already popular voices could actually stop new talent from breaking through. That's quite insightful, too.
It really is. If publishers can just easily license, say, the AI voice of a big-name narrator.
Why take a chance on someone new?
Exactly. There might be less incentive to discover and nurture new voices. It could create a real bottleneck for emerging talent.
The YouTuber also mentioned just a personal feeling of sadness about it all. This idea of mass-produced books hitting the creative sphere.
Yeah, it taps into that broader anxiety, doesn't it? About automation creeping into art. Books feel personal, crafted. The idea of them becoming more like an automated mass commodity, it can feel a bit disheartening if you really value that human touch in storytelling.
But are there any counter-arguments? Or maybe ways this could perhaps actually help voice actors in some way?
Well, one possibility, I suppose, is that maybe voice actors could handle more projects. If AI assists with some of the more tedious parts, or if their AI voice can work on multiple things at once, maybe it increases their overall potential income. It's a thought.
Maybe.
And like we said, the tech is still evolving. AI will get better. That could open up new kinds of opportunities we haven't even thought of yet within the field.
So putting it all together, what does this move really signal about Audible's bigger strategy here?
Well, it seems pretty clear they want to expand their already huge audiobook catalog even further and make the production process way more efficient.
Right. Streamlining.
Yeah. This feels like taking what they were already doing with AI in the indie author space and scaling it up, bringing it to mainstream publishing.
Which naturally leads to the question, does this give Audible even more leverage over publishers and narrators?
That's a very, very relevant question.
Yeah.
Given how dominant they already are, offering these integrated AI tools could really solidify their position. It might give them more power over pricing, rights deals, all sorts of things in the audiobook world.
This definitely gives us, as listeners, a lot to think about. The YouTube creator even suggested looking at alternatives like Libro FM, mentioned library integration as a plus.
Exploring alternatives is certainly something you, the listener, can do if you have concerns about where things are headed. Options like Libro FM, which often have models supporting local bookstores, they give consumers choices.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, we're kind of left with this core tension, aren't we? It's the undeniable convenience and the potential for much wider reach that AI offers, balanced against these really serious concerns about what it means for human creativity, for people's jobs, and just the overall health of the industry.
Precisely. It's a classic trade-off, isn't it? With potentially really big consequences on both sides of the...
And that brings us to our final thought for you today. Really consider, what do we gain and what might we be losing as AI gets woven more deeply into creative fields like making audio? How could this shift ultimately change your own relationship with audiobook and with the voices that bring those stories to life? It's definitely something to mull over as this technology keeps evolving so